It's all about Bruce. All about Bruce.
So a very Merry Christmas to all of you who are celebrating. I'm celebrating. Jen's not, but that's okay.
I'm celebrating. Why do you think I'm not celebrating? How do you figure I'm not celebrating?
Oh, there's what's the slang word? Goyim, and you're they celebrate the wrong holiday. You celebrate your holiday.
I don't really celebrate.
Could we get, Josh brought up a great point. Could we get Lou in a Santa hat? Would she be willing to wear the little Santa hat? Would she put it on?
I could probably get her to put on a Santa hat. Actually, I could get her to put on your little elf hat.
Yes, well, that's what I mean. A little elf hat could always go a long way.
Yeah, I could do that. Let's see what happens. Lou.
So we hope everybody out there is doing great. We didn't want to announce last night who our special guest was going to be, but it is going to be none other than Justin Jackson, running back of the Los Angeles Chargers, and the gentleman who I think we can say really has started this national conversation about, forcing the vote on Medicare for all. For those of you who don't know, he got into a social media dialogue with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and it was pretty thorough. And a lot of people are in agreement that, we've come to a point now where, healthcare as a right really, shouldn't even be a question anymore. As Jen likes to say, when it comes to debating somebody on Medicare for all, it's like debating flat earthers.
It is, or creationists, or any of those people that are just
Who's wrong. A cute little lady.
I got to get it. It's hard for me. I have this challenge with the inversion on the camera. So I'm somewhat challenged.
Guys, make sure to hit the like button,
and subscribe on YouTube,
share, comment. Everything is going to help. We got to get to 4,000 hours. I know we're about halfway through. Well, she's definitely, she's smiling.
She don't
there
care.
She goes. She don't have any.
No, she doesn't care.
Yeah.
Lou, you're so pretty. Oh my God, she's so cute. Look at her. Look at her on the camera.
Look, Lou. Ah, there you go.
Lou, smile. Yeah, Lou, smile.
That's great.
Oh my God, she's so cute. I can't even help myself. I love her so.
So obviously we want to talk to Justin about, what are we going to be able to do in terms of expanding, the discussion. I think we definitely need to talk about, how we expand the discussion with other, segments of the population, whether it be professional athletes, for example. It just needs to become.
I still want to unionize the professional wrestlers.
Oh yeah, well I
think that's a whole other issue. Yeah, we need to revisit that.
No, and then the other thing that I think is a very important talking point with as it relates to how we get this how we take this conversation further is aside from the dialogue that's happening right now, like we talked about the other day, building these coalitions is so important if we're going to advance this message, Medicare for all, the stimulus checks, and regardless of what you think about, what happened today with the vote. I mean, look, on Monday, Lord knows we've been waiting long enough, but on Monday, they're going to have another vote. This one's going to be a standard vote for, whether or not we do get our stimulus checks, this case, $2,000. Look, people are desperate right now. And,
but I think that the real problem is going to be Mitch McConnell. So it's not going to really, I don't know that this only works if Trump really seizes on the opportunity to sort of work in conjunction with the Democrats and Nancy Pelosi to sort of get around Mitch McConnell, because otherwise I don't see what.
No. And again, well, that's why, we've talked about the importance of voting for Reverend Warnock and John Ossoff in Georgia, because getting rid of McConnell is a significant step in the right direction, regardless of whether or not Warnock or Ossoff are, championing Medicare for all. What's most important?
No. In most races, I am not necessarily a supporter of going that route, but getting rid of Mitch McConnell,
it's imperative. It's absolutely imperative.
That has to happen. He has to go away.
He's got to go away.
He has to go away.
And I think most people can see that whether he is.
I'm telling you, I am not beyond encouraging people to don yellow vests and hang out and make life kind of just embarrassing and uncomfortable for people. We know where everyone lives. I don't see, they don't like people getting in their way when they're at their personal time. You know what? I think they have too much personal time for what we're paying them.
No, they
and not
they
only,
do.
But seriously, this is ridiculous. Certain people are just impediments and need to be dealt with. People need to just be basically bullied, peacefully bullied.
Yeah.
Yellow vest, non-physical bullied. But yes.
And again, I think we're at the point now where I'm not sure anybody is necessarily going to be nice. I just think people are so desperate and they need something.
Yeah,
Pelosi and all they keep doing is just spitting in their face. But one great thing that did happen today that just happened in the last few hours, Ilhan Omar actually is calling for a floor vote on Medicare for all.
Wow.
So pressure does work, guys, whether you believe it or not. And even if
that was the compromise, was having her do it and not Alex.
Maybe because Alex is, of all the members of the squad, Alex is the only one that can rise above where she is. The rest of them are going to be completely grounded. Ayanna Pressley may be able to run for the Senate in Massachusetts.
I mean, this is sort of you guys, the world according to Peter's predictions of all political.
My political predictions have actually been pretty spot on. So
yes, you and Nate Silver are two and the same.
It's amazing how Nate Silver gets so much credit because he predicted it one time correctly in 2012, and he has been way off ever since. But Gillette Jones, I don't know. That may be.
What are you talking about, Sam?
Sam, you got to specify. I think you may be saying something in French, so you got to let us know exactly what you're alluding to.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. This was the closest thing I come to anything that is like red. Like I don't have red. I don't have anything red.
Anti-GOP. Totally. No, like anything red is really, really bad.
It's not usually my color, but this hat is special to me because this hat was a gift from a campaign supporter who made me two of these.
I think this was Fran, I think
was her name. Fran?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It was a long time ago. It was so nice. And she made two of these, and I kept one, and I gave one to my friend Mitchell Stolberg, who has since died. And so every time
Mitch was a casualty of COVID.
Yeah.
He was. And
technically he did not die from COVID.
No.
But he was running himself ragged. He was a cancer survivor. He had to work extra hard.
Couldn't get any unemployment benefits.
And then couldn't get the kind of treatment that he needed. Wasn't covered by it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. But anyway, so I wear this, I think of my friend Mitchell, and also it's red and seemingly festive. I was told by Graham that I did look French, which I could go for that. But plus it's winter here in Florida. I don't ever.
But I'm from New Jersey, so there's standards by what is considered cold in your mind.
I don't think it's cold, but no. I'm at least going to dress. I'm trying to dress seasonally.
Well, you're a real smart ass with that name, Seaman Staines, but Seaman Staines says that not easy to rock the beret looks good. So that's awesome. Smart. He's a smart Alec, but we'll hey, listen, you could totally jive with somebody who is clever enough to put that out there and be like, is his name Seaman? Seaman?
Well, because first when I saw it out of the corner of my eye, I thought Seamus, like Irish spelled Seamus. Like when I
that's what I thought too.
That's
what I thought too. No, it's not. Is that the whole Washington red beret? Jason, is that what it's called?
I don't know what that is. This woman who was one of our donors, Fran, sent this to me with a really nice letter and a couple of really cool Bernie buttons. And I know that it was sort of something having to do with the healthcare and Medicare for all. I know that the nurses, it has something to do with Medicare for all. That's my thought.
We have, as we discussed, a very special guest that we're about to bring in, Justin Jackson, who is a running back for the Los Angeles Chargers, and a very important note that she'll announce when we bring him in live.
Wait, we have our trivia answer.
Yes, we have a trivia answer. Very important line.
Anybody was paying attention last night. Because my hint of who was coming on tonight was I had said it was somebody where he and I are alums of the same institution. And then I even said, and the color is purple. Now, Jason Call, I do remember you guessed LSU, which is not correct. And I told you, think less impressive sports-wise. No offense, Justin.
No, it's a good sports school.
No, I
it's
just
a good sports school.
Think of when they think of somebody who's a football. I just don't think that is. Hi, Justin.
Hi. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Funny you mentioned that because look at this. Look at that.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
I didn't even know you were
Northwestern University Wildcats. Yeah, that's
Perfect segue.
that's our connection.
Justin, it's our
Yeah.
first time meeting. I'm Peter. It's great to make your acquaintance, and
Nice
you know,
to meet you
been
as well.
yeah. Well, I told Jen you've been good to me for a few weeks in fantasy football. I have you on my roster, so you know,
Okay.
keeping it.
That's love. That's love.
Yeah, of course.
He's gonna like kind of fanboy probably. He's a total sports person. Everything is about
That's
sports.
all good.
I told you I've only fanboyed for two people in my life. First time I met Scottie Pippen, and of course when I first spoke to Bruce Springsteen. That's it.
Fair.
And of course,
That's
you being
fair.
from Chicago, you know, obviously Michael's number one, but you know a lot of people have that love for Scottie as well. So
That's true.
you know,
It's just those Bulls teams in general. You know,
So,
people go
do you want
crazy
to
for
talk?
that.
Should we talk politics or should we talk football?
Well, first of all,
We can
Merry
do
Christmas.
whatever you want.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays to everybody.
Are you like with family? Are you doing anything?
I'm not with family, unfortunately, because of travel, you know, with
Yeah.
COVID and everything.
Oh,
but I will be with one of my teammates and his family tomorrow. So
that's good.
That's
excited
wonderful.
about that.
At least you get to do something. And the LA weather, I assume, is still fairly comparable these days. It's, get a little nippy.
Still pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's not Chicago cold, but you know.
You see, that's actually cold, and I'm from New Jersey, and I can attest for being.
Okay, so then don't mock me. I've lived there.
The Floridians.
I lived in Chicago, and I've also lived in Indianapolis.
Well,
by the way, that's pretty cold.
Well, the Floridians
That's very
complain
cold.
if it gets down to 60 around here.
Yeah.
So you know that's they consider that cold. But I was in Chicago in January once, and that's cold. Really cold.
That's frigid. Like
Yeah, well, you know, and it's kind of amazing, you know, when you're playing and you see, you know, the playoff games in January, like in New England and places like that, where it's literally 10 degrees.
I don't know.
I don't know.
They're all wearing pantyhose under their pants.
Well, no,
I mean, working
pantyhose. I guess
basically
that's what they are. Huh?
Yeah, for sure. That's what's thin and keeps you warm. That's what you.
Exactly.
What else you do? You can't put sweatpants under there. Like, what are you gonna do?
We
definitely
2 years ago in playoffs, and it was
brutal.
It was cold. It was real cold.
How do you function like that?
I mean, well, it's actually as I got older in the NFL, there's a lot more resources. So we have, you know, heated benches and the heated blowers and everything. When I was a kid, though, playing in Chicago, we didn't have none of that. So it was way worse then. So I grew up playing in the real tough, and it's not as bad now.
Yeah, that's true.
How's your past 2 weeks been?
Yeah, what's been going on the past 2 weeks?
Considering this firestorm that you've started.
Yeah, what?
Yeah,
for people who don't know, what happened?
I didn't think I was going to start a firestorm. Okay, I was just
it's a good one, by the way, for those that are watching.
Yeah.
So basically, I tweeted AOC, about I guess a little over 2 weeks ago, maybe. And I was imploring her to implement a strategy that Jimmy Dore came up with, and that was gaining a lot of traction. And I thought it was a great, unbelievable idea for progressives, who everyone always says progressives have no power. Progressives have no power. There's not much they can do. Well, here's something tangible they can actually do, right? Like that will help advance the cause. And she responded, and which she hadn't responded, and the campaign had already been out there for maybe a week or two already. So it was nice to see her actually engage with her base and respond to us and have a dialogue. And I mean, obviously the shitstorm that happened since.
Well, and that's not on you. That's not on you in any way. That's the
Justin,
thing.
I know a lot of
on.
and I know a lot of people probably haven't asked this, but what do you think? Everyone is going to pontificate about this, but what do you think was Alex's motivation to actually respond to you?
I honestly have no idea. And then I was talking, you know, I'm good buddies with Kyle Kolinsky, who's got a huge show.
We love him.
Talk,
big fan.
And Jimmy as well, who's got a huge, massive audience and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And they got over 800, 900,000 subs on YouTube and obviously a lot of followers on Twitter and whatnot. And they had been pushing this before I said anything, right? And I have 90,000, 95,000 followers on Twitter. I play football, right? I'm like not even in the space as much as all these other people are. And she hadn't responded to them, but then she responded to me. Why she did that?
Oh, I know why she did that. Because if somebody spoke to me in the manner in which Jimmy Dore addressed AOC, I would never give him a time of day and talk to that man a day in my life. And I am not somebody that is overly offended by like man misogyny crap like that. And I hadn't watched him because the truth is I don't watch him. but I was watching somebody review his rant, and I finally got to see how he spoke, like directing it toward her. That's disgusting. That's not how you get a response. That's how an animal talks to somebody.
And maybe it's different. Maybe it's different for us as men, and not really being in that sphere.
But I would never respond to someone who went off on me that way. That is not how you win friends and influence people.
And I think that the best way to critique Jimmy is, when people are critiquing him and saying, you get a lot more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. That is a reasonable critique. But when people say, "Oh, this is a terrible idea," you don't know what you're talking about.
It's a good idea, and I am not even opposed to standing up to our representatives and holding them accountable. I have nothing wrong with that. I have nothing wrong with you taking a firm stand. I have nothing wrong with you saying, "Look, this is what we need. This is what you." Like, I have no problem with that. I am not saying that we should be idolizing her, but you do not speak to people in that. Like, it was so wildly inappropriate to me the way he addressed her directly. It was gross.
And I think the way that you've gone about it is
exactly.
And here's what I'll say. As I understand, and me playing football and being in spaces, especially when I went to college, where I was around people from all over the country who grew up wildly different lives, conservative, liberal, all mix of people. So I had to learn how to, because when I was having these conversations at first, I was talking to people that I already knew and people that I was already really close with. So I'm not really going to be saying anything disparaging towards them if we're talking about a subject, because we're going to talk about the ideas. The way Jimmy goes about it, and I actually really appreciate what you said, Jen, because even though you didn't appreciate how he was talking to her, you didn't let that get in the way of appreciating the idea, right?
No, it's a great idea.
That's what it should be about anyway. It should be about the idea. And people who maybe didn't like Jimmy because, he's obviously very aggressive. He's a firebrand. He says whatever he wants to say.
Oh, yeah.
People who didn't like him because of that started shitting on the idea and getting in the way of a real, tangible, idea that could help the progressive and left movement. And that's where the real issue in my eyes.
Yeah, we deal with those people on a micro and a macro level all the time. They're everywhere. Those people are everywhere. It's the people that put themselves out there like they're really wanting to help, and yet all they do is like shame, name call, cancel people, get all wrapped up into just like their feelings and their emotions, and they cannot get out of their own way. And that is why we can't have nice things. That's what I think about those people.
I'll also say this real quick. While I said personally I wouldn't have gone about it that way, Ro kind of did go on Jimmy's show, and he did say, I'm one of the most powerful people in the world because I work in the United States Congress, and people are gonna, say what they want. People are gonna, come after me, and I respond to them because I'm their representatives, and so I really appreciated that take as well.
Yeah, and Ro is special. He's one of the few guys that is not only progressive, but he actually will, as a representative. Remember, a lot of them, they get to DC and then they think that they're kind of above reproach in a lot of respects. Yeah. Ro is very much. I mean, he communicates with Jen through social media. He's just he's a rare commodity, and we need more people like that. That's it is a lost art, but I do think having somebody like yourself and others that can speak to this issue in a more, dare I say, eloquent way than Jimmy would, I think it's a lot easier to bring people in. There are nefarious actors in this equation. There are people who simply don't want to see Medicare for all become a thing because some of them are posers. We know who they are. But there's also a lot of people who I do believe genuinely are afraid that, there is this this fear of what the corporate media is still capable of doing. It comes to the floor for a vote. It gets completely shellacked. And then the corporate media creates this whole, See,
it can't work. It can't work.
Wasting your time. It's never going to happen in this country. But at this point, what have you got to lose?
Right.
I said we needed to take it further. I honestly, it's like, yeah, that's a great strategy. Withhold that. I also think it's important to make a deal of it and just keep moving the Overton window to the left. But I think that they should not be necessarily supporting her at all for Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very bothered by that there's 435 people in there and she's the best they got to speak for the House. So that's my problem. So, you could just withhold it for one issue, or you could just sort of stand up as a little block of people and say, yeah, no, that's not who we want being our speaker anymore. And you can't get that without us helping you.
Yeah,
And some sort of compromise.
yeah, and honestly, AOC has said something similar to what you just said. The problem is, and this is not just AOC, this is a squad, at large, is they will say those things, but you it's almost like they have the worst of both worlds, right? They're saying, oh, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer needs to be replaced, but then they're not willing to do exactly what needs to be done so that they can start to be replaced.
Yeah.
So then they end up getting the vitriol of the establishment without getting any of the perks, without getting any of the concessions, right? And I think they're trying to play these backroom dealing politics, and what they need to understand is that they are such a small block, and they will get crushed at every turn. They will get crushed at every turn by this party because this party does not like them. This party does not want them there. This party thinks that the squad, AOC, and the progressives are ruining their game, and they're exposing their game, and that's why they don't like them, right? And so they need to understand that and fight back with that same energy. You can't fight back with a different energy than they're playing because they are the system. And so if you're not actually willing to fight the system, just being one tiny little part in that system, you're not going to be able to upend it. You're just not going to be able to.
Well, that's like, they're not, if you wait until it's safe to do something or until you know it will happen, then it's never going to happen. Right. That's not how things work. So you just got to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. They're never going to have the numbers just automatically where they can come in and say, oh yes, we have enough numbers that we don't need anybody to agree with us in the Senate, and we're just going to get this. It's not going to happen.
How would you see Nina Turner, should she become the next congressional representative in Cleveland, as the type of perhaps, we always say, I've always said that Nina would go where Bernie wouldn't go. Mm-hmm. And I believe Nina will go where AOC will not go.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
Oh, 100%. And I think Nina Turner, having been in, right, AOC, when she came in, she was very new to it, right? She ran as a Justice Democrat. She had never been in politics, all these things. So when she got there, I don't think she was quite ready for everything that was going to come with that. And especially all the pushback and all the vitriol and all the attacks from the right wing and all that. I don't think she was really ready to take all that on. And it would be hard for anyone to be ready for that. But that is the job you signed up for. But Nina Turner, she has been in this. She's been in she's been at the state level and the local level. And she's been with the Bernie campaign. So she knows exactly how to play this, right? And she's not going to go in there and, like she says, get along just to get along. And she
that's the thing. She's not there to make friends.
She's not. She's there 100% to fight for the people. And this is what AOC and the squad need to realize. Even with all the attacks, even with all the corporate money that was put into a challenger for her, against her in the primary, even though she's one of the most popular Democrats in the entire country, even with all that, she breezed re-election. You know why? Because the people love her. It doesn't matter about Nancy Pelosi. It doesn't matter about the Democrats in the House and all the money and the corporate power. None of that matters because the people love you. So even if you're
powerful, it's extremely powerful.
So powerful. And so she doesn't have to toe this line that everyone else has to toe. Where I'm like I'm pleasing my donors for sure, but then I'm also kind of pleasing the people. She doesn't have to toe that line. She can be unapologetically herself and actually fight for the people. Who cares if they hate you in there? Who cares? Those people don't matter. The people that matter are the people that voted you in for change, right? And that's what she needs to feed off of, that energy.
Yeah. I think that for the most part, and I'll be critical when necessary. And I think for the most part, I think that she's done what she needs to do to push a progressive agenda and play the game within the system that she is. And that's the reality of the situation. And I'm not in a position to judge any of that. I think she's young. I think, like you said, there's not like a whole lot of experience there. And I think that she's dealt with a lot. And I think, she stands for the direction that we need to go. And whether you like her on every issue or you agree with everything that she says, the bottom line is she represents her constituents and not corporate donors. And so my whole take on anybody, and I don't care if they're conservative or progressive, if you're properly representing your constituents, then you're doing your job, whatever that is. Some places are more conservative than other places. So, that's the thing. Now, I do think with her, there is an element of careerism. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. Like, I'm not saying that that's, we do, I don't mind people staying in that service for a while. I mean, I do support term limits, but so, I mean, that's fine. But I do think that she does I think that's part of her process.
And I think I was listening to Breonna Joy Gray, who I love, Bernie's former press secretary.
I want her to be my press secretary.
Right. And the way she explained it, I think was perfect. And she said, of course, you see all the videos of AOC going in there, the documentary is knocked down the house and all, she's saying all these amazing things, which we all loved and which made us so excited for her. And then you get in the halls of power and then you see what you could possibly do. It might take you a little more time, but you see what you could possibly do, right? You see how you could possibly make these incremental changes that actually can affect people's lives. And so that's when it becomes, oh, I'm not just there for a term. I want to be there for longer so I can. So it's not necessarily that it's malicious.
Yeah.
It's just that this way of going about it, when you're not actually a part of the establishment and the system, this whole tweaks around the edges, incremental changes, behind the scenes, backdoor deals, it's not going to work for you the same way it's worked for Nancy Pelosi for her to get to her position of power. And that's just something that I hope that they understand.
I hope so, but we do need a certain amount of people that have a certain amount of longevity. You do need a certain amount of institutional memory in the way things function. And so you want people to come in that are young and sort of help and then move on and obviously mentor the next people. So, I mean, that's in theory how it's supposed to work.
I also think that they're calculating that Pelosi is going to be finished in 2 years. And I think that that's a fairly reasonable assumption. I mean, with the way that you can already see Biden setting up his administration, the fact that, there is this populist uprising, and if it doesn't happen on the left, it's going to happen on the right. It's going to happen somewhere.
Right.
That, more than likely Republicans take back control in 2022. And it's very likely, I believe, that the Democrats are going to have a presidential primary in 2024. They are trying to roll out the carpet.
I hope so.
They're trying to roll the carpet out for Kamala. It's pretty obvious, but to me, you can only, now that like Medicare for all is in the American consciousness, you're not gonna sweep it under the rug again.
It's not going away.
It's not gonna happen.
It's gonna. I mean, it's inevitable. That's the thing. It's never like progress is inevitable.
Like I always say, Jen went on, Tim Pool's show, who, he's definitely, progressive in some ways, libertarian in others, and he has definitely a substantial Trump following because he's, very
I got
much
called
about
Karen so many times I can't even count it.
But what was great about it was that 500,000 people saw this episode, and a lot of them, a significant amount of them, were very receptive to her. This is how you build these bridges. You can't, you put the wall up, and it's like you're cutting off your nose to spite your face when you don't have to.
Yeah.
And I think your ability to be sort of that crossover individual who can just, go and talk to anybody, anywhere. I don't think, I don't know if the NFL, Sunday mornings calling to ask you to come on and start talking about things like this. But I am curious, and this is one of the main reasons, we were thrilled that you would come on tonight. And obviously you don't have to name any names, but
I have a little thankful for COVID, because if it weren't for COVID, there's no way he'd be able to come on.
Well, that's fair. Well, maybe that's true. But I have no doubt that you've spoken. Yeah, I have no doubt you've spoken with other pro athletes, whether it be other NFL players or other athletes in other sports. A lot of them obviously have a lot of things that they have to protect, especially if they have any type of contract with Nike, Under Armour, anything like that. So they have to be very careful about what they say. But I'm curious to know what the reception has been from other pro athletes about these types of issues, if they support them, and, if in a roundabout way, they would ever consider getting involved in amplifying the message more.
I would say that the NFL as a whole, player-wise, pretty apolitical. Whether as far as on the surface, pretty apolitical. I think the thing about Trump that did change a lot of things is that those apolitical people felt more inclined to speak up because it was so egregious what was going on. It was so in everyone's face, as opposed to the normalcy of the normal Republican like Bush or a normal Democrat like Obama, whereas everyone's kind of just asleep and it's just politics. I don't get involved in politics, right? But I will say the more I was surprised. The more I spoke out and spoke up, the more people I did get being like, I agree with you on that. Like, I agree with you on that. And what I've come and at least what I want to get people to realize is that you're getting screwed by both sides, right? Like, I don't want people to be like, oh, you're just, you're capping for the Democrats. Like, this happened a lot in the elections. Like, oh, well, you just
I
want
know.
Biden. You just want Biden. You're just a Biden person. I'm like,
Yeah.
actually, Biden's horrible. And I can tell you 8 ways to Sunday why Biden is one of the worst politicians probably in our lifetime. But so is Trump, right? So it's like, and so that's the conversation I was having a lot. But as far as progressive politics, I think a lot more people are open to it if you can have a real conversation with them and kind of break down. I mean, I can detail a bunch of the conversations I've had, but I think people are definitely becoming more receptive and seeing more so how the government just is not working for regular people.
I would think most, I mean, with your exception of, your Tom Brady's of the world, I would think that you would have that football players would mimic the general population and for the most part be more to the left. Is that like, would you think that's accurate?
It's actually interesting. And this is, I think, a play on class as well. It's that I've seen some people that are like black as black can be, came from, struggling areas that, areas that have been destroyed just by, the American government and the American system.
Look at Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne would be a prime example of that. He came from like the 4th Ward in New Orleans, like as bad as it gets.
But but in theory, football players are, a little bit more exposed to different people, different things, not necessarily stuck in one place. So I would think that they would be more to the left than to the right.
I think socially for sure.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to money and it comes to, well, this is something that is interesting though. And I'll tell you this story, and I think it's a great one. One of my friends on the team, big Trump guy. And we were having a discussion about, taxes and all stuff, because he was like, Biden, because that article came out, taxes in California could be 65% or something like that under Biden, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, you really want your tax to be 65%, blah, blah, all this type of stuff. And I was like, okay, let's talk about the Republican tax cut plan, right? 80-something% went to the top 1 or whatever percent, right? And he was like, well, it's so much better than Biden. I was like, okay, so let's talk about your specific taxes. And he's 8, 9, 10-year vet. He's making over $10 million a year.
Yeah.
And I said, so under the tax plan, like, how much money did you get back as an American taxpayer, and one that's making a lot more than a lot of other Americans? He's like, well, actually, yeah, I wasn't able to get as much of a return because, they closed so many of the loopholes. And so I said, if you making $10 million a year didn't even get lowered taxes through that plan, how do you think everyone below you felt? You think they actually got some money back in that tax cut? So do you see how this isn't, even for someone like you who's not even in the working class or middle class, like, it's not even working for you and you're rich? So it's like having these conversations and getting these people to kind of like wake up and realize, wow, yeah, that actually doesn't make any sense. I think that's very constructive, and that's how you can kind of slowly get people to start doing more research on their own and start questioning things from both sides more than they were before.
You bring up a great point. California is a great place to live in terms of things that you can do, but it is let's just say, unless you have serious money, it's a very difficult state to live comfortably in. And so what has been your takeaway to this point of, Governor Newsom's actions over the past couple of weeks? We both agree his appointment of, Alex Padilla to be the next senator is like, that is political hackery of the highest order. You want to talk about, Ro Khanna, you want to talk about Barbara Lee, Karen Bass, even Katie Porter, who, again, in many ways is like, it's like AOC, she's new, but man, she's good. There were so many more qualified people to take over that seat. Now, granted, I believe that that Senate seat is up in 2022. So there is going to be a primary. It's not going to just carry over. But, just the fact that he was willing to do that. And then also talk about, how detrimental it's been, these lockdowns that have been going on and completely mismanaged. You know, from a lot of people's perspective, it may not be in California. What's been your perception and your takeaway so far?
Okay, yeah, to your first point, I pay 50% in taxes here, and I go to LA, and there's homeless people under and over every bridge.
Oh, yeah.
So California, I wish California was this, dream place where progressive, full of progressives in the government, and we had, really good healthcare and great infrastructure and, great housing, and with all the money, the fifth largest economy in the world, we were just doing amazing. That's not true, and that's because we're run by neoliberals, and that's what Governor Newsom is. That's what the Mayor Garcetti is. Jackie Lacey, the former DA, that's what she was, and that's why we have probably the largest homeless population in the entire country. Now to the current handling, like you said, there were much more qualified progressives that could have been appointed that seat. They didn't appoint a progressive. We're not surprised.
O'Connor would have been the best pick for that seat.
Unbelievable. Kind of have been unbelievable.
Yeah, like that's why
he didn't get chosen.
Like, he'd be awesome.
He would be great. As far as the COVID goes, yeah, like you said, I think that video went viral. That woman who had spent $80,000.
I saw that video. The one in LA, right?
Yes, just devastating. $80,000 of her own money to make sure that they followed the guidelines and could keep the restaurant open. Their restaurant was forced to close. Right next to it, a big movie production had outdoor dining for their workers, and they were allowed to stay open.
It's outrageous.
It just shows the corruption in politics. How I'm sure that movie company or whatever had donated a lot of money, or knew the mayor, knew the governor. I don't know. Of course, that all that politicking was going on. So that's horrible, horrifying. They're forcing people to close down with no money. People have no money, so you're just giving a death sentence to their business. It is horrible. It really is horrible, and for as big of an economy as we have, for us not to be able to do anything, to have any type of something saved up to help people for this crisis, just goes to show that California is run very similar to how the United States overall is run government-wise, and that's the wealthy take care of each other, and everyone else has to kind of fend for themselves.
Yeah. Somebody had asked what were your thoughts on Gavin Newsom, but I think we just got his neoliberal California rant about.
Well, for those who don't know, Gavin is actually Pelosi's.
He's eyeing.
Yeah,
something.
he's Pelosi. Well, we know what he's eyeing. Yeah, he's Pelosi's nephew, and he's absolutely. Listen, I still.
Is he actually?
Yeah, he's Pelosi's nephew, and
interesting.
Yeah, he's absolutely going to run for president. It's just a question of when he's going to do it. I do believe if there is, he is not the person who is going to challenge Kamala. I can guarantee you that. However, if it does become sort of like we'll just say, Nina Turner, because it's what it is. We want Nina to run.
Yeah,
but if it became that situation where Nina ran against Kamala and other people got in, I guarantee you Gavin would jump in. So it's really just a matter of when it happens. Yeah, it's just a question of when it happens. And I think California is just a great example for, the vote blue no matter who crowd to really look at this logistically and say, California may be the most mismanaged state, if not one of the most mismanaged states in the country. And it is a super majority Democrat.
Super majority.
No infrastructure in the state. It's
the inverse of Florida.
It is. Yeah, it's incredible how, but here's something that we've been talking about a lot with a lot of people lately, and obviously from your perspective, would love to hear it, because I have no doubt that there's a lot of people in corporate media who are not a fan of you right now. The power.
Who did he anger? Who did you anger?
Who hasn't he angered with what he's been doing?
It's okay.
I'm
glad to be hated by those people.
Oh, yeah. Good stuff.
How do you, whether it be your own family, whether it be your parents, friends, whoever, could you talk about the impact of corporate media and what that has on the psyche of so many people, and how, we have it down here, obviously in this district, and of course it's, it leans heavily Dixiecrat, Democrat, and old. And it's like you're talking to drones. It's like you're talking to people who are, I was inadvertently listening to CNN for 5 minutes the other day, and you would think that they were trying to start a war with Russia. So
for sure.
I'm
They
curious
are.
as to, how it's been for you trying to communicate with people that maybe are, kind of stuck
In the bubble. They're
stuck
in the
they're
bubble.
in the matrix and dealing
Yeah.
with that the corporate media talking points. What's that been like for you?
Ooh, it's hard, especially with family. It's tough with family. And I love my dad to death. And I actually think my dad did support Bernie at the end of the day. But he's an avid MSNBC watcher. And I'll go to my grave saying this. MSNBC did everything they could in the primary to tell American people that Medicare for all was more expensive than what we have now, wouldn't work, wasn't feasible, and was some pie in the sky plan. So
Yeah.
they're actively denying Americans health care by poisoning their mind to think that Bernie was some type of crazy lefty who could never beat Trump, right? This is what they say, despite all the polling of progressive issues, despite all of that. This is what they said. So to me, that's what you're seeing right now, where we don't have healthcare in a pandemic, when we have a president-elect who has sworn to veto Medicare for all would have come across his desk. That is because of MSNBC, CNN, the Washington Post, New York Times, all these corporate media conglomerates that told those very people that they did not deserve guaranteed single-payer healthcare like the rest of the world. And so that's why
they're culpable. Like,
they're
I find
100%.
what used to be the fourth estate is now just this culpable corporate arm of the oligarchy. It's just propaganda. That's the reality. And people, we always say that that's not news. That's corporate propaganda. And, that's a very big distinction. So we don't really get news.
Yeah. And it's, like I said, it's tough to talk to. Like I was talking to my grandfather, and this was when Bloomberg got in the primary, and and he was like, Bloomberg's coming in here, he's got all this money, and he's giving it to all these black folks and to run the campaigns and stuff. So in his mind, it's like, okay, Bloomberg's coming in with all this money, he's helping black people, and I'm like, maybe he's helping a few black people by paying them a salary for a few months, but this man would oversaw stop and frisk, which is one of the most racist policies that's probably ever been implemented by a city. So, this is what the corporate media does to people. It's that they really have you. I think what Malcolm X said it right. Like, it'll have you loving your oppressor, right?
Yes,
hating the oppressed and loving your oppressor.
Yeah. Malcolm was more dangerous. Yeah, Malcolm was more dangerous than Martin in many ways.
Well, I mean, what scared them about all of it was the socialism, the idea of labor and working people. That's what really was the problem.
That's always that's the reason why. Well, I still think I've always felt that there's a conscious effort to not have a black uprising in this country from an economic standpoint. That's the most dangerous thing that could ever happen, because if you look, when you look at look, we're all guilty of it, but we look at a lot of the people that they put on the pedestals, whether it's athletes, hip hop artists, people like that. You're never going to see Dr. Cornel West be the featured voice for the black community. If he was, then those things that should be happening in the local communities, like what we're doing right now, building a community garden in the most impoverished area in our congressional district, that is the type of stuff that needs to be talked about, and you will never see it in the news.
Never see it.
What I would ask of you, because that identity politics and especially race is used as a weapon, especially on the left, could you share with our audience, and for anybody who may be curious, as to what real racism is, and if you've experienced anything like that from your perspective?
Also, I need to use our graphic.
I mean, we actually, it's funny you asked, we had a training session, I want to say a few days ago on our team. We were talking about racism, right? Structural racism, interpersonal racism. And the interpersonal racism, especially coming from Chicago, I'm not going to say you're never going to experience that. You experience it, it's much more coded. Yeah. Especially growing up in a suburb, it's much more coded. I remember when I was young hearing, oh, she's so pretty for a black girl. Like that's one of the most racist things you can say. About a person. Like, I remember hearing that, and just hearing little things that, you're not getting called the N-word, you know, like you might in, you know, in some places in the South still today. But I think the structural racism is something that is so embedded within our society, and that's something that people don't tend to speak about, right? That's systemic racism, something that you'll see where, you know, you're say the NFL, right? Most of the players are black. A majority of the players are black. Probably a tenth of the coaches are black, right?
Yeah.
There's no black owners, right?
I was going to say, go one level up and what happens?
Right, exactly. Management, a lot of management is not black, right? So that's parts of the system, right, where we need to see more black people get more opportunities than we're seeing now. But it's more than just like, right, people say, oh, racism. What do you mean racism? We had, you know, a black president, right? And this is something
and he sure was really black,
right? and they said he was a Muslim too, right? They said he was this, they said he was that. So this is something you have to deal with as a black person in some of these positions of power. But we need more than just diversity, you know, for diversity's sake, right? We need people with diverse experiences that come from places where they themselves have experienced these systemic injustices, and they can go there and fight for those very same people, right? So when you have Kamala Harris in there and they say, you know, she gets off the plane wearing her Timbs, you know, kind of really look like she was with the culture. All of a sudden, when 2-3 months ago she wasn't doing that, you know, I mean, it's so blatant, obvious, and insulting, honestly.
Yeah. Well, but she's not, and I mean, I know people can say they are whatever they are, but she is not somebody that I would say has been raised with a black experience. She is not somebody, I mean, first of all, I think she has a very small portion of her that is black. And of that, I don't think it's African-American. I think she's like 1/4 Jamaican, and that Jamaican is only partially black. And again, this is silliness, but to use that when it's just, it's insulting.
Well, again, this is why the whole identity thing, I mean, listen, I got no love for her. She's totally a grifter and is doing it for a career. But, you know, everyone on the left likes to point the finger at Candace Owens for what she's doing. You know, Kamala Harris is basically guilty of the exact same thing. You know, you're using it as a means to divide and conquer, and it pays well. There's no question that it does. But all the while, you don't have health care. You know, Jordan Sheridan, as you know, does amazing work with Status Quo. I mean, he broke the story on what was going on in Flint, how they're deliberately poisoning the water, but it's only one of so many places of people, predominantly people of color, who have to deal with this systemic problem of, you know, the corporatocracy just taking over. And it's all about, you know, again, you know, we're not going to get too deep into the weeds, but even with the community garden we're trying to build, you know, there's this,
weeds.
Yeah, there's, well, yeah. There's no, there is a gentrification element that's going on there. Like they're trying to, they're trying to be like, oh, we don't really want you building a community garden around here. It's so,
they're already going to start giving us trouble for that. But I wanted to point out this comment. I don't know if you see it because it was just kind of funny because somebody, and I'm assuming he means applaud you, not applaud you. So I applaud you for what you do.
Well, he may be appalled. He may be appalled.
He may be appalled, but because even though I'm a Raiders fan, you have earned my respect.
That's love. That's love. Even though, we did just beat them, so he's a little.
Well, I was going to say he's probably still licking his wounds from that loss. I mean, so that one hurt.
You could talk a little sports talk. Are you done? Are you done politicking?
No, we're talking. We're kind of going about, you know, our deal right now. I mean, listen, you know, it's got to be a real privilege and a pleasure to play in the NFL. I can only imagine, you know, the type of perks and the benefits that come with it, you know, the travel, the gear, all, you know, the friends you make, the connections you make. What's been the most rewarding and fulfilling component of being a professional athlete for you?
I think it's just been a way for me, a vehicle for me to advance my platform. You know, doing activism and stuff like that is really something I'm very passionate about. You know, I love football. I've done it since I was 8 years old. For a long time, that's all I thought about, right? It was football. I was so motivated and driven to, you know, just make it to the highest levels of the game and have fun playing with my buddies, whether it was high school and then get to college and now in the league. But it has opened up so many opportunities for me to do stuff like this and to just advocate and try and spread the left's message and progressive messages wherever I go, and just to get more people to believe in a better America and better opportunities, and just getting what Americans deserve for the hard work that we put in and all the taxes that we pay. And so I've just been loving that I can use this platform to do that, to do more stuff locally in LA, whether it's, working with the kids in LA, working with, we've worked with LAUSD, the school district in LA. We're working on a rent relief fund right now to send out to, people who are struggling with evictions right now. So we're doing a lot.
Wait, we lost volume.
Audio kicked.
You lost
Kicked.
audio.
There. Wait.
No, that's you.
Am I back?
There you go. Yeah,
sorry,
you're there
sorry.
now.
We're doing, yeah.
Look, you got
we're doing a lot. We're doing a lot. We're doing a lot. So that's
somebody had asked if you'd
me,
consider running for office. Would you run for office?
I don't know. I do love more so being on the activist side of things, as opposed to, I guess, in electoral politics. But I won't close any doors. But right now, I'm definitely not thinking about that anytime.
Yeah, good for you. I wouldn't think
he's got at least 5 to 7 more years of NFL football, so you got to let him. You got to let him get that big contract, and then you can worry about after the fact what he may do post career. But you're obviously doing great. You've got a great young quarterback, and the sky's the limit. It's obvious, and you hope that the next 2 to 3 years you guys end up peaking at the right time, because unfortunately you got a quarterback in Kansas City that's he's not going anywhere right now, and he's really, really good.
Unreal.
That team. Well, yeah, listen, I got him and Tyreek on my fantasy team. Tyreek is he's like one of the fastest. I have no idea who you're talking about. Tyreek Hill, he's the wide receiver on the Kansas City Chiefs. He's one of the fastest guys I've ever seen. He's like a blur. I can't even imagine what he ran, the 200 in. If I looked and saw it, I would probably be beyond impressed. But yeah, it's like I said, it's a real privilege to be able to actually get paid to do what you love. And the one, that's
what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Well,
it's funny. Justin, when you were just talking about like what you like about sports, because it's opened up an opportunity for you to spread what you really want to do, like to be able to be the change. That's exactly how I feel about me dealing with politics. But except for I don't think that I enjoy it as much as you probably enjoy sports. So I would say it's like that, but a little bit more like drudgery. But yes, it's about the doors that it opens and the people that you meet and the power that you can, how you can do things and get things done. And that's what it is. It's gaining momentum and gaining a coalition.
What do you think we can continue to do besides obviously hashtagging force the vote? What, from your perspective, do you think would be additional ways to help spread the word? Because a lot of people are, wondering, are we doing enough? Is there really much that we can do? And I mentioned this right before you came on the air this evening. I'm not sure if you're aware of this or not, but Representative Ilhan Omar is actually asking for a floor vote on Medicare for all. So this clearly,
I did see that.
Yeah, this is working. Whether people think it doesn't work, it does. Mm-hmm. The more informed the public becomes, the more likely they are to, and then it becomes sort of a snowball effect.
Like I said, progress is going to happen. The more people that get involved is the faster it will be made to happen, but it's going to happen.
So what would you what would you say would be a good way to help continue to advance it with not just social media, just a hashtag, if you will?
To me, it's the kitchen sink. Like, you throw everything you can out there, and that's why I was very upset with everyone kind of policing how movements work and how you need to do this, how you need to do that first, and blah blah blah. It's like, let's do all of it.
Yeah.
Because we have nothing to lose. The corporate media is going to shit on us anyway. The Democratic Party is going to do everything they can to keep progressives down. So why not? Why not? Our message is a winning message. We know we're in the right. We know we're fighting for the American people for the right things. So why not unapologetically be yourself? Be you. fight for those
That's
people.
what I
That's
say
why
to
you got elected.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, yeah. Listen, it's unfortunate that we happen to be attempting to get this lady into office.
Sometimes he tries to squash my spirit.
No,
He wants to stifle my little happy flame.
I try to tell her that unfortunately, when you become a public figure, there is a certain way that you do have to carry yourself, even if you don't want to, because there are times that you
You should give that message to Jimmy Dore.
Well, you know what? I think this gentleman here probably does speak to Jimmy, and I hope that Jimmy is considering tempering it just a little bit, because he can actually, the message, like you said, is a winning message. It just is. You know, Jimmy is.
I unfortunately don't think he's going to, but
probably not. No. Listen, at
the end of the day, we're all fighting for healthcare.
It's true. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up with Secret Service outside his house at this point, because some of his tone was extremely
he's but you know what, Jimmy is he is speaking for a lot of people in this country who have gone past the breaking point.
I understand that. I understand the anger, but you don't direct it at one person in
particular.
That's make it personal.
I agree. But you know what? When people get desperate, they're not, the decorum is thrown out, attitude's thrown out. It's like, I don't care anymore. I don't even care if I live. I want people to know that I am not going to take this lying down. And I think a lot of people are getting to that point. That's why you saw, I think it may have been in front of Jeff Bezos' apartment in New York City. People are bringing out makeshift guillotines. Like, they think this is a joke. It's really not. How tight do you think you can squeeze people?
But I agree. I agree with what Justin said. I think it's everything in the kitchen sink. And I've always said that you just got to throw enough shit against the wall and something's going to stick. And it's really a matter of doing it from every angle. But instead, what happens on the left is all this infighting and kneecapping each other and all this stuff. And that's sort of where this is where we're having problems. And I think that is a big problem. And the right doesn't have that like we do. That's the truth. They don't. We have such ridiculous amounts of infighting.
The one thing I will say about the right, and obviously we know that, Trump is what I call the false prophet. He was speaking to an audience that wants to believe he's actually fighting for them. He isn't. I think that there is a real awakening that's happening with the more, socially libertarian, even economically progressive people that are out there that happen to be Trump supporters, like a lot of the people that, Jem came in contact with Tim Pool. They have no love for the Republican Party, and they have no love for people like Mitch McConnell. And the difference is they will tell that party to go stick it. Whereas there's something about the Democratic voter that has much more of this guilt complex,
no matter who,
that they can't get out of their own way and recognize that it's time to remove the shackles, if you will. And that's where, leaders like yourself, like Jen, but yes, even leaders like Ro Khanna and AOC and Rashida Tlaib with what she just did, Ilhan Omar coming out saying we need the vote. Those are the leaders that are going to inspire people to basically say, yeah, enough of this. Regardless of what you think of him, politically, and he has been probably as good as anybody who was a national name to Jen when it came to running against Wasserman Schultz. And that, of course, is Andrew Yang, and he's prepared. He's about to run for mayor of New York City. Nina Turner, obviously, there are people out there that are going to carry the torch, that are going to, Bernie lit the flame, but there are plenty of people out there that are ready to take it further than where he was willing to go. And so I know a lot of people are down right now. And we have to build this coalition. Like I said, it's all about building bridges, not burning them. All too often people, are too caught up in, well, what's the right way? Chris Hedges says it's just going to happen. There's not like a path that's going to show you how it's done. It's just going to organically happen. And I think it's organically happening right now. I really do. And so obviously, your time is obviously very precious, and we're very grateful that you came on with us tonight. Obviously, want to give you the opportunity to, share some final thoughts and, what type of,
let's put
plans.
His handle up.
Yes.
It's so funny because compared to you, we have this
you get
followers, but hey, there's there's not necessarily overlap. So it could be a handful of new people.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we need everybody to subscribe to the channel.
Yeah,
so if you can tweet this out, you know, at the end, I mean, that would be wonderful. Get even more people on. It's generational change for us, and your handle is
it's J_man prime 21.
Man Prime 21.
Yep, J_man prime 21.
J_.
Got it.
There you go. No,
all right.
I do really appreciate y'all having me on. I appreciate Jen, particularly you pushing for the vote and being down for this. And look, we got AOC to respond. We got Ilhan Omar to respond. This is more than other people who have been pushing other stuff have gotten them to respond in months, right? Like this is what you have to do. And so it doesn't matter who came up with the idea. We're talking to our representatives here, and we're trying to get a vote on one of our core issues. Period. Yeah. That's it. End of discussion. End of discussion. That's it. We're trying to get a vote on one of our core issues. And so thank you, like I said, for having me on and for pushing this message.
Amazingly,
let's keep going. Let's keep doing what you're doing.
And amazingly, as you know, it just takes one. It just takes one person to say,
that's it.
Yeah, we need to have the floor vote. Yeah, I'm withholding my vote for Pelosi. And then the next thing you know, 2, 3, 4, 10 people are going to follow. It's just kind of how it is. It's just that one person has to have the courage,
someone to lead.
You know, to be willing to do it. You were very courageous to do what you did.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, you know, there's a lot of people who are not comfortable with standing with Jimmy. You know, they know that he's got, you know, he is somewhat controversial. You know, we have to keep it real. But his message is the genuine article. It is what is needed. And we cannot just worry about waiting for that right moment. And we can't, you know, continue down this path of thinking that it's okay if we just ignore that person or that person. No, you have to figure out a way to make it so that we can all get along.
Okay, so Marathon Man Pete Moss says, I'm going to buy your jersey even though I'm not a Chargers fan.
There you go.
That's love. You really don't have to. I never ask anyone to because I know everyone's money is very valuable right now. So
but if you're inspiring somebody, then that's a good thing. That's why people like that stuff. That stuff inspires people because they, you know, for whatever reason, they recognize greatness. You know,
you are inspiring. There's a lot of people who.
Oh, am I the change maker of the year?
Yes, you are.
That's that whole thing. That's why we put that up.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're not noticing the screen.
We do the change maker.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We do the change maker of the week, but we had to, obviously, this is the end of 2020, and it is cliche because you are you'll be the second to last guest because we'll do something on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
But the reality is you really have started something.
Yeah.
Because now it's a conversation that everybody is aware of, and it's going to continue to grow exponentially as we go forward. So we thank you very much for obviously coming on and for be willing to put yourself out there, whereas a lot of other pro athletes are usually not willing to do that. So definitely keep in touch. We hope to see you again soon, and obviously a very Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Stay safe. I worry about when I hear all the crunching sounds. I can't stand that with the bodies.
It's all good. It's
and the heads.
We love it.
Oh, I can't. It causes me anxiety. Bye, Justin.
Good luck the rest of the way, my friend. We'll definitely be in touch.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everybody.
Take care, buddy. Well,
he's so cute.
He's a great guy, and he's got, you know, he took a lot of flack for it. There's no question, but there's so many people
he doesn't care. He's got much stronger character than that. He doesn't care.
No, and Simon, I'm just going to say Simon, Jimmy did start it, but Justin took it to a level that Jimmy, no, that's not it. That's not it. Jimmy was capped in terms of who was going to listen to him, but Justin got the golden goose, if you will, AOC, to engage him on this discussion. And what ended up happening.
And why would that be though?
Well,
like, why would somebody engage with one person over another person?
Well, again, you know, Alex apparently had communicated with him previously. And he is a pro athlete who is pretty known now and is willing to put himself out there. He's not as known, obviously nowhere well as known as, Kaepernick is, but, after Kaepernick, you can say that, he's right there in terms of NFL players that are, or activists and really making an impact, willing to do something and really believe in what, the message that he's trying to put out there. And that's great. I mean, that's really.
So we should put out our message about our new exciting news that we can do stuff now. What can we do now?
What can we do now, guys?
I wish this was the thing. Like I thought at one point when we had a high visibility, we could put that out there. But so we now officially can accept donations for GenCore. And the donate button is at our webpage, which is generationalchange.com. And when, what we're really trying to do is have just regular volunteer army and just work interactively with our different municipalities, different local organizations, different churches, different whoever, and just really build coalitions and do service. That's what it's for. And yes, we would love to be, and if you go to our website, you will notice that it's extremely simple and basic. And so, what we would do with some additional funds would be maybe we could afford to pay somebody who knows a little bit more what they're doing. Maybe we could afford to pay a part-time volunteer coordinator or, anything like that we're really just trying to build up. So we would appreciate it. I wish I could tell you it was tax deductible, but it is not, because we are not a 501c3, nor can we be a 501c3. If we went that route, we would not be able to endorse candidates. And that sort of defeats the whole purpose of what we're doing, in that we're trying to transform politics to service. So we can't qualify as a 501c3.
But if you can lend a hand, we could
definitely use some help.
Yes, and 100%. Because again, regardless of the decision Jen ultimately will make next summer, we have to continue to build this movement here in South Florida. It is desperately needed. And there are a lot of people who are receptive to it. And there are a lot of people who are going to try to get in our way. So we are going to have to do what we can to continue to build it as effectively as possible. And being able to have funds is only going to help us.
Yeah. And I just want people to know, even though GenCore is local, the concept behind what we're doing, the concept of this podcast, is to change the entire paradigm of what politics is, hopefully inspire other little cores or groups or whatever in all different places to just really start looking at how to build coalitions between the political parts of your community and where the service need is in your community, and just really create that. So even though, yes, we are particularly local for service, it's what we're really pushing is a whole paradigm shift. And the further we could get that message, the better. I'd love to see and no, they should not be called GenCores anywhere else, because that's creepy and weird. But, and actually we came up with that. It was sort of like this thought at a meeting at one point. It wasn't even a thing, but everybody in their area, anybody who's involved in activism, anybody who's thinking about running for office, has an opportunity to use that time, that campaign, those volunteers to build a service network for your community. And that's really what this is about. That's what we're trying to do.
We certainly hope that everybody, in lieu of everything that's been going on, is having some semblance of a Merry Christmas. It's difficult for me. I'm not able to spend it with the people that I would love to be spending it with now.
You want to be with your dogs.
I do want to be with my dogs.
I know. That's what I know. That's
I would love to be spending Christmas in New Jersey with my father and his girlfriend and my dogs. And
you're stuck here.
And I am unfortunately stuck here. And of course, thankfully I am going to see a very good friend of mine tomorrow on Christmas Day. Who I usually see as well. So that is my holiday. We still have to be safe. Lord knows how long it's going to take, for everybody to get the vaccine, assuming that, it proves to be effective, which, we had a great guest on,
He's
Eric,
just really...
Eric, we had Eric, Feigelding, great
Feigelding, which is funny because if you didn't look at how it was spelled, it almost sounds like a Jewish name, like Feigelding. Like I can't even. But anyway,
but he was a fantastic guest.
That's a plethora of COVID knowledge,
and that is the guy. Again, the thing that we talk about when it comes to Trump, and everyone gets so caught up in his crass behavior and his just complete indifference to decorum and things like that. The biggest issue with Trump is policy, and his anti-environment, anti-science message was the most dangerous part of his presidency.
No bueno.
Now, obviously, Biden is not much better, if better at all.
No.
But at least Biden is going to have people around him that are much more receptive to the environment than anyone Trump ever had.
We have 3 decent cabinet picks.
We do.
We're gonna take our little pittance crumbs of 3 decent cabinet picks and just, I guess, be satisfied.
Yes, I mean, listen, you know,
better than nothing, and we got rid of Betsy DeVos.
Betsy DeVos, yeah. Well, Miguel Cardona, like we talked about, definitely better. Deb Haaland for Secretary of Interior is obviously better, and I think Marcia Fudge, obviously for HUD. So there's, again, it's not much, but it's better than nothing.
And really getting rid of Betsy DeVos is definitely a big deal.
Yeah, the one thing that the Democrats,
she's absolutely the worst.
Even the corporate Democrats, the one thing the Democrats are better at than Republicans, pure and simple, is public education. That is definitely something that they are much more favorable to. But I think part of the reason that the Democrats are much more favorable to it is because the teachers union happens to be pretty strong, and they happen to be very active. To their credit, unfortunately, the head of the teachers union puts her thumb on the scale politically in a negative way.
Well, we find it negative. Some
yes.
people find it positive. If you were working for Debbie Wasserman Schultz, you'd think she did a fabulous job in leaning in that direction.
But we all know that things evolve. You know, there is this old guard that is desperately trying to hang on to power and is not going to get out of the way easily. But we have to continue, like I said, to be working together to build these coalitions, because anything's possible. I'm telling you, things look really down in the dumps right now. But
see my football. Oh, see? Yeah. I have to. Yeah, it's just.
Yeah, it's really cute.
It's a little pitiful, I know.
But we are making things happen. There's no question that we are. And we're obviously very grateful for everybody who tuned in tonight.
If you haven't, please subscribe on YouTube.
100%.
Please hit the like button, comment, share. And when you watch on YouTube, please let it run. Let it run. We need watch hours so that we can monetize.
We're trying to get to 4,000. We get there and we are sailing, baby. We'll be able to do the super chats. We'll be able to do all kinds of things. There's no question that this takes time. It takes patience. But, you know, we've been doing it for a few months now, and I think we're doing a pretty good job. I think we crossed 1,500 subscribers. So, you know, we're definitely on our way. And I'm did the same. Yeah. And Jason, as you know, there's a huge difference between the rank and file.
Oh, he knows.
The bosses.
We need to have almost like a local insurrection here against our the heads of our unions here. Like, there needs to be some sort of insurrection.
I just want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas.
Right, so I put them there for you, just in case.
Before we depart, and we wish everybody a Merry Christmas, we have a special message from a very, very, very special person. So we totally want to wish everybody a really Merry Christmas. We certainly hope you're all having a great time. This is a really tremendous show, and I'm definitely going to come on it a lot more often now that I've got a lot more free time on my hands. And believe me when I tell you, this is going to be the most incredible, tremendous, wonderful podcast. We're going to make it great again because I'm here now, and we're totally doing that. So we hope that you're all having a wonderful holiday. I am certainly the biggest Christmas fan. No, you definitely don't want to put your finger there. You don't know where that's been. It's definitely been places it shouldn't have been. And we certainly hope that everybody is having, we certainly hope that you had a happy Festivus.
Yes. Absolutely.
What's Festivus? What's Festivus?
We air our grievances regularly, so we don't need a special day for the airing.
Believe me when I tell you, I'm totally not done airing my grievances. I totally haven't gotten everybody out. You know, I totally want to make sure that everybody understands that everyone who is loyal to me, they're going to get a pardon. Is there anybody you need me to pardon? You know, let me know.
Yes.
I got to hear more about
Julian Assange.
Oh, I don't know about that guy.
Julian Assange. Seriously, if you would pardon Julian Assange, I would have voted for you.
Well, no, you totally voted for me. You haven't told the people the truth. Tell them the truth. Tell them you totally.
I did not.
Yeah, it's totally fake news.
Trust,
it's totally fake
you,
news.
But I would have.
For me.
If you pardoned Assange, I would actually have voted for you.
I should have pardoned him.
I would. I'd be a single issue voter for Julian Assange.
I should have totally pardoned him. That was a big mistake.
And you really need
that
to.
should have been it. I totally could have done that.
And throw in Edward Snowden and Chelsea Manning in there.
Well, listen, it's not over yet.
You know,
it's not over yet. You know, I could still declare myself universal president of all time, and then nothing could happen. I would totally be there for the rest of my life.
You could be like
it would be
Mr.
really, really
Universe, like in a pageant, just like you like to have women parading around in their little skivvies in pageants. That could be like you.
That would be really, really great, and I totally can do that.
You would have to pay people so much money to be able to stomach watching that.
It's a very Trumpian Christmas, and it's the last one from the White House, or in this case.
Trumpian Christmas.
Oh, it's really, really great. You have no idea. We totally give gifts. We steal from the rich, or we steal from the poor and give to the rich. Isn't that a really great thing? That's what we do all the time. So believe me when I tell you, it's going to be great. Stay tuned. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Bye, all. I will do that. We can do an episode on juvenile detention centers.
I think that is a wonderful idea.
Actually, we can. One of my, little business partners, Mona Lisa, is actually very well versed in this stuff, so we could do something on that. But all right, guys,
a very Merry Christmas to everybody. Thank you for tuning in.
Peace out. We'll
definitely
see you guys.
Spread the word.
Are we going to be
watching.
here next week on New Year's Eve because we have nothing better to do for New Year's Eve either?
Hey, we got to keep our audience entertained, right?
So pathetic. Bye, all.
Take care, guys.